Thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate my daughter, Lily, the real hero of this family. My father's voice thundered through the ballroom speakers, warping slightly as he tightened his grip around my stepsister's shoulder. Lily smiled wide, her chest pushed forward beneath a Marine Corps uniform that was wrong in at least 6 different ways. Then Grant pointed straight at me, sitting alone at table 14. "Unlike Rachel here," he sneered, making sure every donor in the room turned to stare. A disappointment who couldn't even be bothered to donate a single dollar to her sister's charity. Useless. The room collapsed into silence. I felt their eyes settle on me, heavy with judgment and secondhand shame. I didn't flinch. I didn't cry. I didn't look away. I simply slid my phone from my clutch and tapped the screen. There it was, the notification I had been waiting for. Total donations received, $51,980. That was the number, the line where a small lie becomes a federal crime. I placed my glass on the table and stood. Before I show you what happens when a fraudster tries to publicly humiliate a major general from the Inspector General's office, tell me in the comments what you'd do if your own father threw you away to protect a criminal. I didn't rush for the exit. I didn't storm out. I walked with the same measured pace I used when inspecting troops outside Killeen, Texas. The valet kid looked at me with pity as I reached my rental car. He probably thought I was running from humiliation. He was wrong. I wasn't retreating. I was rearming. I opened the trunk. There it was, hanging in a garment bag like a second skin I'd been forced to abandon for the sake of family peace. My dress blues. My name is Rachel Morgan. I'm 36 years old. I didn't get here by being anyone's daughter. I got here by surviving deployments my father couldn't pronounce. I slid the jacket on. The weight of the wool settled across my shoulders, familiar, steady. I buttoned the collar, felt the stiff fabric press against my neck, and checked my reflection in the side mirror. 2 silver stars on each shoulder. Major General. Grant thought he stripped me of my identity back there. He thought calling me useless would break me. He forgot the military only breaks you down to rebuild you into something unshakable. I walked back toward the entrance. The security guard stepped into my path, glanced at the stars, and moved aside so fast he nearly stumbled. I pushed the doors open. Lily was still on stage, clutching the microphone, fake tears catching the light as she told a story about a deployment she'd never seen. "It was freezing in the desert," she sniffed, "but we held the line." The sound of my heels against marble cut through her lies like a blade. Click, click, click. Heads turned. A whisper rippled through the room, then died. Silence. Thick and suffocating. Lily froze mid-sentence. Her eyes dropped to my uniform, then climbed to my shoulders. The color drained from her face. She knew enough to know she was outranked, outmatched, and out of time. I didn't stop until I stood directly in front of her. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I took the microphone from her shaking hand. "There are 3 things wrong with this picture," I said, my voice carrying cleanly to the back of the room. I pointed to her chest. 1. That Navy Cross is the 2nd highest decoration for valor. You don't buy it online, and you don't wear it on a uniform that's never seen combat. I pointed to her collar. 2. Your devices are upside down. A real Marine would rather bleed than walk out looking like a mess. I leaned closer so the microphone caught every word. And 3, you are standing in the presence of a Major General from the United States Army Inspector General's office. I let it land. The room gasped. I saw my father's jaw drop, his face flushing an ugly shade of red. Stolen valor isn't a performance, Lily. It's an insult to every friend I've buried. I dropped the microphone. The sound echoed sharp and final. I turned away. Lighter. Cleaner. I'd corrected the record. Exposed the lie. I walked toward the exit, thinking it was over. Thinking I'd won. I didn't know I was walking straight into a trap. I hadn't taken 3 steps when the air shattered. "Stop her!" My father's scream ripped through the ballroom. "Security! Don't let her leave!" I didn't turn around. I didn't speed up. I reached for the brass handle of the exit, but before my fingers could touch it, the door slammed shut under heavy hand. I looked up. A uniformed officer stood in front of me, chest rising fast, one hand resting near his holster. He wasn't hotel security. He was Austin police, working off-duty for extra cash. And right now, he was looking not at a general, but at a threat. "Step back, ma'am," he ordered. 3 more officers moved in from the sides, closing the space around me into a tight semicircle. Big, tense, fueled by the adrenaline of a wealthy man's panic. My father rushed up behind them, sweat shining on his face, eyes wild and desperate. He didn't look like a parent anymore. He looked like an animal cornered with no exit. "Arrest her," he shouted, pointing straight at my chest. "She's drunk. She's unstable. She's impersonating an officer to terrorize my daughter." The lead officer glanced at my uniform, then back at him. "Sir, are you saying—" "She's crazy," Grant snapped, cutting him off. "Discharged years ago for psychiatric problems. She has a weapon in her car. She threatened to kill us all." The lie was so reckless, so calculated, I almost admired the nerve. He was weaponizing the police. He knew that in chaos, badges often listen to whoever signs the checks. "Ma'am, put your hands where I can see them," the officer barked, his fingers tightening around his taser. "I am a senior officer of the United States Army Inspector General's office," I said calmly, even as my pulse hammered against my collar. "Hands, now." They didn't wait. 2 of them grabbed me, spun me around, and slammed me face first into the wall. My cheek struck the plaster hard. My arm was wrenched behind my back, twisted upward until the joint screamed. "Hold her. Don't let her move." My father paced behind us, breath ragged. "Search her. She's dangerous." Pressed against the wall, breathing in lemon polish and stale sweat, I watched him from the corner of my eye. He was smiling. Small. Terrified. Cruel. He thought he'd won. "You should have stayed in your seat, Rachel," he said quietly. "You should have kept your mouth shut." He thought my silence earlier had been fear. He thought I stood there swallowing his insults because I was weak. He didn't understand the math of retribution. If I'd stormed the stage 2 hours earlier when Lily started her stolen valor routine, the donations would have stalled at maybe $900. Petty fraud, a fine, an apology tour. He would have written a check before dessert. So I waited. I stood there while he called me a failure. I stood there while the checks came out. I stood there while my grandmother emptied her savings into a lie. I wasn't cowering, I was calculating. 10,000, 20, 40. I needed it past 50. That's the federal threshold. That's where charity fraud becomes wire fraud and identity theft. That's where probation turns into prison. It wasn't patience, it was target acquisition. I let them dig deep enough to bury themselves. The officer shoved my face harder into the wall. "Stop resisting." I wasn't resisting, I was breathing. "Grant," I said, my voice muffled but steady, "you just made the last bad decision of your life." I went completely still. Physical resistance is what they expect from someone unstable. It's what justifies the taser. I locked eyes with the sergeant pinning my shoulder. I didn't look like a victim. I looked like command reviewing a failed drill. "Sergeant," I said quietly, my voice cutting through the chaos, "you have one chance to walk away with your badge. Shut up." My name is Major General Rachel Morgan. I'm the Deputy Inspector General of the United States Army. You are detaining a federal officer on the word of a man actively committing a felony." His grip loosened just enough. Doubt bled through the adrenaline. He noticed my ribbons, aligned to the millimeter. He noticed how I held myself, even pinned. "She's lying," my father shouted, his voice cracking. "She's off her meds." "Check my pocket," I ordered. "Left breast pocket. Military ID. Do it." The sergeant hesitated, then reached. Crazy people scream. They don't give tactical instructions. "Check it," I repeated, "and if you pull it out, be ready to salute." The officer's fingers shook as he reached into my pocket and removed my CAC card. He held it under the ballroom lights. He saw the hologram. He saw the rank. He saw the expiration date 5 years out. The color drained from his face like a recruit missing first formation. He released my arm as if it had turned to fire and stepped back, his hand dropping away from his weapon. "Ma'am, Secure the perimeter," I said, straightening my jacket with a sharp tug, "and get your hands off me." The air in the room shifted instantly. The other officers felt it before they understood it. Batons lowered, shoulders relaxed. Phones rose across the ballroom, recording the moment the crazy daughter became the highest-ranking authority in the room. For 5 seconds, I had control. I had the truth, and Grant saw it slipping through his fingers. He didn't retreat, he detonated. "She printed that ID online," he screamed, digging into his jacket. "I told you she's sick. I have proof, right here." He shoved his phone into the sergeant's face. "Discharge papers, paranoid schizophrenia, violent tendencies. It's all right there." The document looked real. Department seal, my name, a date from 3 years ago. It was a forgery. Clean, expensive, prepared long before tonight. He'd been carrying a digital execution of my character in his pocket, waiting for the right moment to pull the trigger. The sergeant's fear shifted, not fear of authority anymore, fear of uncertainty. "Ma'am," he said slowly, his hand creeping back toward his taser. "Turn around." "That document is fake," I said, my voice cold and steady. "Verify it. Call the base. We can verify it at the station. Cuff her," he ordered. Cold steel snapped around my wrists. The click echoed through the ballroom. Grant laughed. Lily hid her smile behind manicured fingers. They thought I was finished, cuffed, disgraced, alone. Then the doors blew open. 6 agents in charcoal suits stormed in, badges raised. Federal agents. Nobody move. The music died. Conversations froze mid-breath. The other officers stiffened. Special Agent Carter pushed through the crowd and saluted me. "Ma'am, apologies for the delay. We were waiting on the wire transfer." The sergeant went pale. My cuffs came off. Authority returned to its rightful place. The warrant was real, the fraud was real, and the consequences were unavoidable. I walked toward Lily. She looked small now, like a child hiding inside a stolen uniform. "It was just a joke," she whispered. "Wire fraud isn't a joke, and stolen valor is federal." Carter cuffed her and began reading the charges. Wire fraud, identity theft, charity fraud. "Dad," she screamed, "help me." Grant stepped back, palms raised. "I didn't know," he said quickly. "She lied to me too. I'm a victim." Survival instinct. The moment admiration stops, narcissists abandon ship. I held up his phone. "If you knew nothing, why did you prepare this?" His face collapsed. Obstruction, false reporting, conspiracy. 2 agents slammed him against a table. "I'm your father," he shouted. "Not anymore," I said. "You're a precedent." The room parted as they were led out. No one followed. Outside, I removed my jacket like armor I no longer needed. The war was over. I called the only person that mattered. "It's done, Grandma. The accounts are frozen. Your money is safe." I drove away without joy, just peace. Here's the lesson. Don't beg to belong to people determined to misunderstand you. Build your own table. Do the work quietly. Let truth be the last voice in the room. Most people scroll past stories like this. The ones who subscribe are the ones trying to change something inside themselves. If this made you stop scrolling, subscribe to get more stories like this every day. And if this story reminded you of someone you love, comment and share it with them.